Alright, so I low-key don't think people are talking about this enough. But I was actually kind of doing some fucking research the other day. You know, I was going through my pictures here and then. I was just looking at my screenshots, and I've got a couple of screenshots of a couple of different things here and there. A couple of Instagram models I need to check out. Some of my, some videos I didn't get time to check out when I was on the you guys get where I'm going, but a couple of screenshots here and there, and one thing that actually popped up was a screenshot of a report saying that Justin Bieber actually denied to perform at Coachella due to the fact that he actually wants to work on his new upcoming album. And it got me thinking, wait a second, Coachella's not like coming up very, very shortly. I'm pretty sure it's still like 2 or 3 months away, right? And that kind of got me thinking, well, if he's still working on his album by then, that means we might have just got a little bit of a closer release date on when that thing is possibly going to come out. So I actually did some research, and if you actually search up when Coachella is, and most of the baddies who are watching this video right now, you guys probably know when it is, but it is of course going to be on April 14th, 2023, and it will finish on the 23rd of April, meaning that if Justin Bieber is telling the truth and that he didn't decline the invitation to perform at Coachella just because he's, you know, spending time with his beautiful wife, who I would also deny going to Coachella if I could spend time with Hailey Bieber. I definitely don't think that would be a bad idea if you're Justin Bieber. If we're actually going to take his word serious and that he's going to be continue to work on his album and all of this type of stuff, this could likely mean that the album is definitely not anytime soon and will still be most likely releasing well above Coachella, meaning that this album, earliest we could probably see it, is basically May, and I think that is the absolute earliest. And to be honest, we still haven't gotten the first single of this album, and if we kind of take it back to what it was like when Justice, of course, did release, we would know that JB released the first single of that album, Holy, on, I believe, September 18th, 2020, and then would eventually go on to release the album on March 19th, 2021. He would go on to release the album 6 months after he released the first single. That is another clue, and that's something I definitely feel like they might kind of abide by again this time, due to the fact of how successful Justice was and how successful the singles were, kind of releasing one single every 2 months or so before, you know, to the lead up of the Justice album coming out. So if we're going to say that JB is going to be continuing working on this album all the way through to April, and we haven't even gotten the first single out yet, if we're going to be real dicks, then the album might possibly be coming out earliest of like October, if we're going to use the same, like, or maybe a little bit less, maybe like a September, right? If we're going to use the same 6-month release date kind of format that JB previously used, if, let's just say, he releases the first single of this album maybe start of March, right? Earliest would maybe then be like September, end of August. But I realistically think, I don't think he's going to spend as much time on, you know, waiting for the singles to come out before this album. I think Justice was just a bit of a unique experience. Holy came out a bit earlier than the album, of course, was officially done. You know, he just got off working on changes, this and that, so he probably needed a bit more time to cook up Justice. But if I'm going to theorize right, I do think we'll get the first single to this album probably sometime in March or so. There is still quite a bit possible chance that Honest was the first single to this album featuring Don Toliver, but with how that song kind of failed commercially and whatnot, and a lot of believers, whatever the fuck they're called, didn't seem to really like it, then probably more or so that won't be the first single of this album. So I definitely feel like the first single should be coming out maybe towards the end of March. I don't feel like this album is super far away, but considering he said he's not going to want to perform at Coachella due to the fact that he wants to work on the album, I think it could still be somewhat far away. There's also the alternative solution that maybe he just denied to do that just to spend more time with his wife, which again, I would do the exact same thing if I was him. But yeah, it is Going to be really, really interesting to see how this, of course, does turn out. There are a lot of things to say that this album could also be a little bit closer than September or October if we're going to look at that, you know, single to album release date that Justice had. Of course, last year in an interview, I believe around, I don't even know, like August or so, I think he said the album was nearly complete, right? He did say that back then at the very similar time he released the, of course, Honest song, and did say the album was very, very much basically nearly done. And then, of course, he would be, you know, he had done a new song with John Mayer, and that would, of course, be coming out on this album too.
I got John Mayer's on the project, which is pretty sick.
That's tight. That's sick.
Wicked guitar solo, so that was really cool.
But he, of course, did have, I don't even know what you call it, but half his face, like, just died. I don't even know what the disease or whatever you want to call it is called. I can't even remember, but it was pretty serious. He had to cancel a lot of his tours, all of this type of stuff. And with how Honest, I think, kind of didn't do very well, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe when he got back in the studio of like December or January, I think it was December, that maybe he decided to change some stuff up, record some new songs, maybe take a bit of a different direction maybe with this album. And I think that's going to be very, very evident. My prediction for a release date, I actually think this might come out June or July. I think that's very appropriate to say. I think July or earliest, you know, early August would be the latest I think he should release this album potentially, considering he might be working, might be performing at the Super Bowl in 2024 as well. You're definitely going to want to release an album sometime this year just to build up hype for it. And I think potentially having it come out in the middle stages of the year and keep those singles going towards the end of the year would be kind of a perfect run into maybe performing at the Super Bowl in 2024. So with all of this kind of said and done, if we're going to take, you know, if we're going to take in mind that he did say he's not going to be performing at Coachella, which is in April, due to the fact that he wants to work on this album, and he's probably going to be finishing some stuff up, maybe doing some promotion stuff, all these type of things, maybe hopefully by that time, and releasing singles and whatnot. I predict July or June, I think, will be where this album gets released, and more specifically, I think July. I think would be a pretty awesome month, and I think that makes quite a bit of sense in my opinion. And yeah, if he releases that, you know, the first single maybe early March or so, you're kind of almost meeting that 6-month kind of release date from the single to the album release, like what Justice had. Of course, it will be a little bit shorter. I think it will be like a 5-month period, but it would probably, you know, kind of be a very similar thing to what happened there. And you can definitely get a couple more singles out in that time as well. And I do expect the John Mayer song to probably be a single as well. So, of course, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment your thoughts and opinions down below. And also, don't forget to check out my last Justin Bieber video. If you guys haven't already, I released that a bit ago. I talked about a bunch of stuff there. I even talked about how the Jack Harlow song should be coming on this album as well. A lot of really awesome things. So if you haven't gone and checked that out, I do highly recommend it. I will be linking it down below. But of course, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment your thoughts and opinions down below. Are you guys excited for this album or are you guys not? And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.